Life Audio.
On today's episode of Timeless Wisdom.
Today I want to talk to you about women and depression. And there are many aspects to this. This is not the only time on the male-female hour that I will discuss it. And by the way, of course, you could have a show on men and depression. But from the perspective that I am going to deal with it today, I'm specifying women, not because only women get depressed. That is not the case, of course. But because I want to give specific reasons for female depression that you don't normally hear about.
That's coming up on Timeless Wisdom with Dennis Prager.
Rising interest rates, stock volatility, out-of-control inflation. People are concerned about what the future holds financially. This is Dennis Prager for AmFed Coin and Bullion. There's no better time than the present to move a portion of your IRA into precious metals. You should know there's a right and a wrong way to set up your precious metals IRA. Mistakes could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in IRS fines. Call AmFed Coin and Bullion, 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com. That's AmericanFederal.com.
Welcome to Timeless Wisdom with Dennis Prager. Hear thousands of hours of Dennis's lectures, courses, and classic radio programs. And to purchase Dennis Prager's Rational Bibles, go to DennisPrager.com.
I'm old-fashioned. I like two sexes. Yeah, and another thing, all of a sudden I don't like being married to what is known as a new woman. I want a wife, not a competitor. Competitor.
Talk about a bit, this crying in the morning thing, this depression, let's get that fixed.
That's what men think, isn't it?
What?
That unless you've got the answer, unless you can say...
I'm old-fashioned. I like two sexes. Yeah, and another thing, all of a sudden I don't like being married to what is known as a new woman. I want a wife, not a competitor. Competitor.
Talk about a bit, this crying in the morning thing, this depression, let's get that fixed.
That's what men think, isn't it?
What?
That unless you've got the answer, unless you can say, oh, I know this bloke in the Essex Road who could fix that, then there's no point bothering.
How do you rate women so well?
I think of a man, and I take away reason and accountability.
I love him, and I don't care what you think. I love him for the man he wants to be, and I love him for the man that he almost is.
What do people have rows about?
Money, sex, money. He wants, she doesn't want.
She wants, he doesn't want.
Women have always been a big problem to me, Dr. Fussband. Are you listening, Doctor?
Yes, go on.
All righty, everybody, welcome to the male-female hour on the Dennis Prager Show. And forgive us for the technical glitch of your hearing the beginning twice, but it's an enjoyable beginning. Hi, everybody. I talk about men and women each week at this time. And it happened again this week where folks came over to me, this time in Dallas, and I always ask you, for whom this is true, to please send me this in an email. They're very valuable to me. That hearing these things on the show turned your marriage around. I mean, people literally say that to me, and that is better than I really enjoy your show, which I love. Obviously, I appreciate that. But when I hear that really makes my day and it makes my month, for that matter. And that the reason is because we try to tell, and I won't be the royal we, I try to tell the truth about men and women here. And the truth does set you free. That's the truth, Ruth. And it's hard to hear at first certain things about men, certain things about women. But if it's true, then you I don't know, is this a rough way of putting it? Then you learn to deal with it. And you deal with it in a concrete way. I mean, I know, for example, to talk about controversial thing to say on radio, wherein we acknowledge what was the statistic given? What was it? Was it Alison Armstrong who gave us the statistic on the hours per month that a woman is in the mood. I mean, it's measurable in single-digit hours, right? The hours that the typical man, is in a mood in a day is measurable in double digits. So there is such an asymmetry between mood in the two sexes that something has to be done. And what I have recommended, and what I think anyone who thinks this through for 10 seconds or 10 minutes or 10 hours will conclude, is that the answer to whenever one feels that one is not in the mood to do something constructive is, so what? People are incapable, because we live in the age of feelings as dominant. They don't say to themselves, so what? Can a man say, I'm not in the mood to go to work today? I'm not in the mood to make a living? Can a child say, I'm not in the mood to go to school? Most of what we do, we're not in the mood to do. That's the way life is. What are we in the mood to do that we do on a regular basis? And the things that we are often in the mood to do, you know what? I'm in the mood to have an ice cream sundae, but it's not a great idea. Anyway, that's just one example of something that apparently has affected a lot of you, and I am very grateful for that. Today, I want to talk to you about women and depression. And there are many aspects to this. This is not the only time on the male-female hour that I will discuss it. And by the way, of course, you could have a show on men and depression. But from the perspective that I am going to deal with it today, I'm specifying women, not because only women get depressed. That is not the case, of course. But because I want to give specific reasons for female depression that you don't normally hear about. That's the thing. But the reason that depression and marriage is so important is because the effects of depression on the marriage, they are, and I will put it gently, very, very negative. The other spouse, loving the spouse who gets depressed, will, for a given time, and it may be years, many years, just work with, try to help out, try to make happy the depressed spouse, but at a given point, the wear and tear will work on the other spouse and thereby on the marriage. So it's a very, very destructive thing. Without assessing blame, it's just a very destructive thing to have one spouse chronically unhappy or depressed. Now, so I have a two-part column that I have written. The second part came out yesterday, and I want you to go to it. It's at PragerRadio.com. It is Why Are So Many Women Depressed? Part 1 came out on March 11th, was published, and you can get them both at PragerRadio.com and just click on columns, Prager columns. And Part 2 came out yesterday. Now, there are obvious reasons for why either sex would get depressed. The most obvious one being hormonal or biochemical, that there is a certain chemistry of the brain that leads one to depression. That's true for some men. It's true for some women. That's not my subject. Is that clear? I think it is. Good. My subject is, are there any things that have happened since women are more depressed today than ever before, at least according to every study that I have seen? The question is, what has changed? Biochemistry hasn't changed. There were depressed women. There was a woman in the extended family of my own family. I did not know this happened before I was born. And it was, by the way, a family secret for most of my life. I simply thought that I had this relative in the extended family who had died of premature heart failure. Turns out that she had killed herself. And she was depressed. And in those days, it was not considered to be, a dignified thing to go to a psychiatrist or whatever. Did not get the help she needed, and it's a tragedy. So there's been depression all through the ages. I mean, it was called melancholy before they had the word melancholia. Some great artists suffered from it. So that I'm not addressing. I'm addressing the question of why are women more depressed today than in the past, if that is true, and I think it is true. And so the usual arguments about biochemistry don't hold because I don't think biochemistry has changed. Certain other things have. So let me tell you, and if depression is not the only word here, how about deep sadness about life? Really, I mean, and I don't mean the usual sad. We all have deep sadness about life. Look, I mean, I don't want to be macabre here, but either we die or everybody we love dies. Somebody dies first, right? Or we're in the middle. I mean, life has inherent tragedy. That's the way it is. So I'm not talking about that either. But what phenomena are new in the life of women that they are more unhappy today than in the past? With less sexism, more equality, more opportunity, more money, more independence than ever in human history, women are, by every judgment, more unhappy today than ever before. Why is that? The most liberated, the most wealthy, the most independent, the most long-living, the most healthy women have the most least happy in history. My theory's coming up.
This episode of Timeless Wisdom will continue right after this.
Precious metals dealers come and go. This is Nick Grovich, president of AmFed Coin and Bullion. We've stood the test of time since 1983. With the flurry of coin and bullion dealers coming and going, how do you know who to trust and what to buy? At AmFed Coin and Bullion, we value educated consumers. We want to alert you to good bullion buys in the market and help you steer clear of the tricks and bad deals. Call AmFed Coin and Bullion for a free coin performance review. 800-221-7694 or AmericanFederal.com.
Now, back to more of Dennis Prager's Timeless Wisdom.
Prager it is. Hi, everybody. The male-female hour. And the subject today is women and their unhappiness or depression. Everybody reports, left, right, center, everybody reports that more women are more unhappy today than ever before. This is a real question. Unless you believe that hormones have changed, which I don't, and I don't think anybody does, something has changed. Women, after all, are healthier than ever before, wealthier than ever before, have more opportunity than ever before, are more independent than ever before. I mean, every marker for happiness that we're told by our society is there, and gee, what happened? Well, I have a lot of theories, and they're written out in two parts. June 24th, that's yesterday, my column at PragerRadio.com, and on March 11th was part one. There, I want to take a call first because I did not address this. I have in the past, but I didn't in print, and I wish I had. So congratulations to Randy in Santa Monica, California. Hi, Randy. Dennis Prager.
Hi. Good morning. I really love your show.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I think it's inevitable. There's in a marriage or even a single woman, women's roles traditionally have been selfless and outer directed, and the society that we live in now, a lot of the moral, spiritual, and social structures that serve as support networks have been either destroyed or greatly weakened. And I think it's inevitable that a woman's role, a traditional woman's role, has been denigrated, and there's really there's nothing to turn to.
Yeah, that's the point, Randy, and I thank you. And let me elucidate here, because the spiritual and all that other stuff is fine. I want to talk as concrete as possible. That which brought most women most of their happiness has now been denigrated. I wish I had written it that way as one of my... Everything I wrote, I agree with. But I didn't write that. And that's the way I would like to put it. that which historically has brought women the most joy in their life has been told to women will bring you the least joy or will not be a source of joy or should not be a source of joy. Namely, being the mother and wife of a household. That is not where your joy should come from. To even think that way is to think in a patriarchal, Neanderthalish sense. Now, I may be wrong. Whether I'm wrong or right, remember, is secondary to I want clarity here. Let's be very clear. If you believe that for most women, a relationship with a good man and the mother of a household making a home have been the greatest sources of happiness for the greatest number of women, then if you believe that, and I don't, if you don't believe that, then this is obviously this particular explanation doesn't apply. But if you do believe that, then clearly the removal of those things as values for women is going to make women less happy. In other words, if X was the source of most women's happiness through most periods of history, and you then have the first generation in female history being told X is going to make you miserable, don't pursue X, pursue not X, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc., then you are taking a very big gamble with women's happiness. That you have to admit. Whatever your position, you have to admit it's a gamble. We are going to throw away what society has believed was the greatest source of most women's happiness. Not all. I agree with that. Of course, not all. You're going to have a woman who wants to be an aviator and fly around the world all the time. You're going to have a woman who just wants to be involved in writing novels all the time. I fully understand that, and they should be allowed to, and they should be honored. It's a non-issue. But I'm talking about the great majority of people, not the handful of exceptions. Because once you talk about the exceptions in that sense, then there's nothing to be learned. So the question of why are more women unhappy today than ever before, and that is said by right, left, and center, that is apparently agreed to, then maybe this gamble, what maybe was a great gamble for society, but it was not a good gamble for women's happiness. And so this is the male-female hour because unhappy women make unhappy homes. I could have put this as a happiness hour subject. I could have. I debated. But because it so relates to both sexes, I decided to make it a subject on the male-female hour. 1-8-PRAGER-776, 1-8-PRAGER-776. Now, I wrote 2 parts, and I urge you to read them. If there's no cost, just go to PragerRadio.com and click on columns. The first one was March 11th, 2008. The second one was yesterday, June 24th, 2008. Why are so many depressed? Why are so many women depressed? Part 1, and then I don't know why they dropped Part 2. It wasn't Town Hall. I think it was my syndicator who did it. But it's also titled, Why Are So Many Women Depressed? The first one, in Part 1, I spoke about from my happiness hour and from my book on happiness. Happiness is a serious problem, that expectations lead to unhappiness. The more you expect, the less happy you will be. And feminism taught women to expect essentially everything. Job, career, independence, a good man, a motherhood, everything. You will have, you can have it all. There are a few people who have it all, or at least we're told that that's true. I don't know any, but I suspect that there are people who do. I could believe that they exist. Listen, there are people who are killed because they did wear a seatbelt. The vast majority of people in an accident are saved from serious injury and death because of a seatbelt, but some people are actually killed by wearing the seatbelt. But there's nothing to be learned from that. The fact remains that the vast majority of people are saved by seatbelts. The fact is that the vast majority of women or men in the have it all thing, we're not made in a world where you can have it all. You can have a lot if you're wise. And the depression of women who are married is having a very serious impact on a lot of relationships. And we have a call coming up that women are less happy with the quality of men out there today. That is in my part 2. Why is that so? I will explain, and we'll take that call and more when we come back on the Male-Female Hour on the Dennis Prager Show.
This episode of Timeless Wisdom will continue right after this.
Precious metals dealers come and go. This is Nick Grovich, president of AmFed Coin and Bullion. We've stood the test of time since 1983. With the flurry of coin and bullion dealers coming and going, how do you know who to trust and what to buy? At AmFed Coin and Bullion, we value educated consumers. We want to alert you to good bullion buys in the market and help you steer clear of the tricks and bad deals. Call AmFed Coin and Bullion for a free coin performance review. 800-221-7694 or AmericanFederal.com.
Now, back to more of Dennis Prager's Timeless Wisdom.
Dennis Prager here, the Male-Female Hour. Part 2 of my column or essays on why so many women are depressed today, so many more apparently than in the past. Came out yesterday. I'd like you to read it because depression in marriage, and remember, this is a good conjunction of the Happiness Hour and the Male-Female Hour today. Happiness, a happy marriage is dependent upon two happy spouses. If one is chronically unhappy, then the marriage is unhappy. It's not fair, but it can't go on the happiness of one of the two alone. Why do you think I speak so much about the moral obligation to at least act happy, to be happy, to act happy? Why? That's the theme of all of my happiness hours. This is the Male-Female Hour, but that's the theme of it. And when you apply that to marriage, it has in other words, that belief that there's a moral obligation. You realize how good that is for marriage. Most marriages, by the way, tend to be a happy and less happy person. So I'm addressing the less happy person. 1-8 Prager 776. So why are some of the reasons? One is the expectations. Feminism raised the expectation that a woman could have it all, and if she doesn't have it all, she feels depressed. Look, that's true. That's human nature. You feel unhappy if you think you should have had a lot more in life than you have. That's how it works. It's true for men. It's true for women. It's true for others. The other category, increasing in numbers as we liberate ourselves from gender straitjackets, which is the way people think. Let's 1-8 Prager 776. If you called, please stay on. John in Minneapolis. Dennis Prager, hi.
Hi, Dennis. Thanks. Yeah, I think that more women are less happy because feminism and what Laura Ingraham has coined our hookup culture, thank you MTV, has really lowered the bar for men. It made women more promiscuous, and that was great for men. And for women who want to settle down in a more traditional, just a normal, family life, find a man who is committed to a relationship and is willing to build a future, is much harder. I see it in my siblings. I see it, my sisters, I should say, my coworkers, my friends. It's hard to find a good man that. Yes. Especially in a lot of areas of American life, I agree with you. That's in part 2 of my column. And part of the reason is because men have been told to abandon all of their masculine traits. That's why. A masculine man is called sexist. And men don't want to be called names by women, which, by the way, immediately means that the guy's not masculine. Because as soon as men get intimidated by women, they are less masculine. I mean, that's just the way it is.
It's almost a primal way for women to test a man's fortitude, or women in general, or a woman specifically, and it is if the man buckles, then the women have put men in a very or not all women. All of this is generalizations, and certainly there are millions of women to whom this does not apply. Thank God. But certainly in parts of our society, especially the better educated and the more progressive and so on, the ideal man has become what we call a metrosexual. He's very sensitive. He's sensitive to her feelings. He's a 50-50 man, and he is basically a hairy woman, not effeminate. That's not my point. Now, that's a separate issue. I'm talking about secondary characteristics. But in the deepest sense, has lost the sense of masculinity that we had. I mean, it's almost like the change from John Wayne to many of the actors who are like boys today compared to. And I'm talking, it's all symbolic. I don't know John Wayne real life. That's not my point. I mean on the screen. I will give you some of the reasons in part 2 that I wrote of and take more of your calls. You're listening to the Male-Female Hour on the Dennis Prager Show.
Hi, Dennis. This is Jen Herbal from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We emailed once before a year ago. I'm enjoying your Timeless Wisdom shows so much. No matter how old they are, they never lose their value. We miss hearing you every day, but this is a best alternative to that, and we hope you're making a full recovery. We love you so much. Thank you so much, Dennis, for everything you've done for the country. Keep working hard. Bye.
Are you enjoying Timeless Wisdom? We'd love to hear from you. Call 877-243-7776 and leave a review, share your thoughts, or just even an encouraging word for Dennis. Your voicemail might just make it on the show. That's 877-243-7776. That's 877-243-7776. Thanks for listening and for your support.
You're listening to the Dennis Prager Show, and if we drop any of the calls, please don't be insulted. They're all superb, or you wouldn't have gotten on. But I want to channel this subject on the Male-Female Hour to male-female specifically. If depression of one of well, in this case we're talking about women, but if an unhappy woman, a wife, has affected you or your family's happiness, it's important for other people to hear this. I'm talking about, and I would hold the same for a depressed man, obviously, but all the reports are that women are more depressed than ever. I've written two pieces on this at PragerRadio.com. You can find them. The second part was yesterday, and I will review more of those reasons. But I want to get to so many calls. There's so much business to be done here. It pains me. Andy, Vancouver, Washington. Hi, Dennis Prager.
Hi, Dennis. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
I wanted to bring up a couple points, actually. First, I've been married for a little over a year, and we're expecting our first kid. And I wouldn't want anybody to think that I would consider my marriage unhappy or anything. But I do see a couple points of conflict in our marriage. First, I really feel a strong influence of the neo-feminist culture that literally, if I even ask my wife to do the dishes, she looks at me as if I'm some sort of sexist pig, whereas, she asks me to do all sorts of tasks, masculine and feminine, around the house. I feel like there's just a strong sense that I feel like I'm walking on eggshells as far as that goes. So that's my first point I wanted to bring up.
Wait. Let me just say, and I very rarely like to intervene this. Do you have children?
Our first child is on the way.
Oh. Well, all right. That somewhat affects my advice here. I was going to say don't have kids yet till you resolve some of these things, but you are going to have one. I think that you need to confront these issues now. If you're walking on eggshells, was it 1 year of marriage?
Well, yeah, it's a little over a year, yeah.
if you're walking on eggshells the second year of marriage, you're going to be walking on eggshells the 10th year of marriage.
Yeah. And I do. I confront it straight on. We talk pretty openly about our conflicts, and she understands how I feel about it, and she makes true
well, you see,
efforts
she feels, based only on what you're telling me, and obviously there's no blame here. I've not spoken to her or anything, but based on what you're telling me, she feels, as millions of girls/women have been led to feel, that if they act in a way that honors the man as the man of the house, they are Neanderthals. They are giving in to the enemy. They are betraying their humanity and sisterhood.
Yeah, and I think it's almost like she thinks that when I expect a few certain things around the house to get done while I'm at work or something.
And are you the primary breadwinner?
Yes, I am.
Well, then you have a right to ask those things, in my opinion. And please try to resolve them, because it's not going to get easier when the baby comes. That even in the best marriages, life gets more difficult or more challenged when the baby comes between a husband and a wife. All righty, now let me take Denver here. Denver, Colorado, and Danica, Dennis Prager. Hi.
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. I'm well too. Thanks.
I am a stay-at-home mom, and I feel very fulfilled in being a stay-at-home mom when I'm around my husband and around my family who have the same values that I do.
Yeah.
My personality, though, I've found is defined by objectives and things that I accomplish. And so when I talk to anybody who's not in my immediate family, it's hard for me to feel like I'm actually doing anything because I don't have objectives that are easily seen by the world that I'm accomplishing.
Yeah, exactly. You can't point to your sales record. You can't point to your salary. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. This is why I say that feminism has increased women's unhappiness. Now, one can argue it's done good for society. One can argue 100 things, but one can't disagree. One can't deny that the very what you said, a woman of my mother's generation would not even have understood. What are you talking about? There is so much to be had from interhuman relations. The fact, and if you have a good and loving husband, you have won the lottery.
And I do, and he is pained because he can't help me any more than say, you're doing a fantastic job at home, and be supportive at home.
Well, yes. I mean, he can only help insofar as he can reassure you that he considers you to be as much the breadwinner as he is. I always said that. I mean, that was something I said over and over and over. That my wife was half the breadwinner because of taking care of the home. That is a view you share. You tell your wife. You know, I bring in the money, but you take care of the home. And if you do a good job and I do a good job, then we are both doing a good job. And your husband has shared that with you. Why are so many depressed? Part 2. I want to get to them because otherwise I never will. Another example, aside from feminist building of expectations, was the way in which many girls have been raised. As I write here, every wise person in culture and history has known that it's impossible to attain any happiness without conquering one's nature. And as I've told you often, folks, boys are taught to conquer their nature. From the earliest days of a boy's life, you can't touch a girl sexually without her permission, and you can't let yourself engage in all the violent aggression you want. You have to control your nature, boys. Girls are not taught to control their nature and their dark part, which is being ruled by emotions. That's their battle, like we boys have our battle. Back in a moment.
This episode of Timeless Wisdom will continue right after this.
Precious metals dealers come and go. This is Nick Grovich, president of AmFed Coin and Bullion. We've stood the test of time since 1983. With the flurry of coin and bullion dealers coming and going, how do you know who to trust and what to buy? At AmFed Coin and Bullion, we value educated consumers. We want to alert you to good bullion buys in the market and help you steer clear of the tricks and bad deals. Call AmFed Coin and Bullion for a free coin performance review. 800-221-7694 or AmericanFederal.com.
Now, back to more of Dennis Prager's Timeless Wisdom.
I want you to hear these three calls, women aged 25, 25, and 32. Just want you to hear these calls from 3 of the 4 time zones of our country, so it's pretty eclectic, and give you an idea of verifying what I'm talking about. Now, folks, you got to be very quick because I want to get you all in. All right, Katie, we'll begin with you. 25 years old, Bradenton, Florida. Give it to me in 30 seconds. Go ahead.
In 30 seconds, I had a hard time with your no expectations theory, and once I applied it, and by the way, we're in our first year of marriage. We're expecting our first child, and, you know, it has all the stresses and new things that go along with marriage, but it really has helped our marriage. I can't really even explain it in words, how much that has helped our marriage, because it's not to sound selfish, but I totally agree with your theory that when the woman's not happy, then the marriage isn't happy.
Well, your husband and you will do well. I predict that for you. I absolutely do, because of your self-awareness as a woman and as a person. Congratulations. Good luck on the child. Amy, Colorado Springs, Colorado, 25 years old. Hi.
Hi, Dennis. I'm from a place where I am treated very well and appreciated very much, but I am totally unhappy and unfulfilled with my life, because I determined the only life that I would be happy with is that where I were at home playing house, being a homemaker and housewife. And I'm single, so I don't have that option right now, but basically that is what I made up, my makeup and my desires. That's what's consistent with it. And so despite what the feminists say or whoever, I just, no matter how great a job I have, it's not going to be fulfilling to me.
They have a lot of contempt for you. For a woman to acknowledge that's the thing that would bring her the most happiness. There are even men who have been so feminized by feminism that she's not going to carry her own weight in making money? Oh, wow. No way, Jose. I want a career woman. Okay, that's fine if the guy really wants that. I think the guys have been told that that's what they want. Monica, Fort Worth, Texas, 25 years old. Hi.
Hi, Dennis.
Hi.
Thank you. I just wanted to call because my mother is afflicted with a lot of the things that you're talking about, but especially expecting my father to completely control his masculinity. Anytime he does, it's like she sees his masculinity as a problem that needs to be fixed or something. Anything he does.
What a brilliant phrase. You hit it on the nose. We should do that. We need to do that as a subject. Masculinity as a problem to be fixed. Monica, bless you. This hour, and hopefully the rest of my shows over the course of the week, of course, but this hour has a lot of young women listening. And I'm so happy because it'll make a better life for you. Don't go away.
Tomorrow on Timeless Wisdom with Dennis Prager.
Oh, good morning, Dennis. When was the last time that you had a guest on who started off crying?
Oh, he's going to make me cry.
Well, I'm an emotional guy, and
Right.
I look back on my career, and I look back on people like you, and there's tears in my eyes because I'm so proud. So I'm proud of what I did, and so proud of the people that I helped create. Creating Dennis Prager was one of the great things in my career. When Roberta came to me, she said, "George, I've got an interesting man that I'd like you to talk to. His name is Dennis Prager." And I said, "Oh, fine." It was 1982, and I had been there since 1960. I had been the general manager since 1979, and in 1982 we were going along very strongly, and Dennis Prager comes into my life. Well, sit down, Dennis. I'd like to talk to you. Well, it didn't take very many minutes for me to discover the one word that I used for my entire career. Of all the people that I ever hired, all of them had one characteristic that you had so much of, and you still have so much: fascinating. And I found you fascinating within the first 5 minutes that I met you. We chatted, we talked. You went on the air, and that show took off like it was a rocket ship.
Join us tomorrow to hear more on Timeless Wisdom with Dennis Prager. Visit DennisPrager.com for thousands of hours of Dennis's lectures, courses, and classic radio programs, and to purchase Dennis Prager's Rational Bibles. We want to take just a second to thank the team at Life Audio for their partnership with us on the podcast. Go to lifeaudio.com to find dozens of other faith-centered podcasts in their network, including shows about prayer, Bible study, parenting, and more.
Precious metals dealers come and go. This is Nick Grovich, president of AmFed Coin and Bullion. We've stood the test of time since 1983. With the flurry of coin and bullion dealers coming and going, how do you know who to trust and what to buy? At AmFed Coin and Bullion, we value educated consumers. We want to alert you to good bullion buys in the market and help you steer clear of the tricks and bad deals. Call AmFed Coin and Bullion for a free coin performance review. 800-221-7694 or AmericanFederal.com.